This episode is raw, it's real, and we will be talking about suicide because physicians still are one of the professions with the highest suicide rates in the country. If you are struggling or you know someone who is struggling, remember that you can always reach out to 988 and get the help you not only need, but more importantly, deserve. I have contemplated suicide on several occasions. I can't tell you exactly what triggered those moments. Best I can tell, it was a loss of identity, a loss of self, having to do work that simply didn't resonate with me. I'm still here because I'm boneheaded and strong minded and somehow managed to push through. But I want you to know if you're in that dark place right now, you are not alone. Hello, I am Dr. Felix Becker, and today we're talking about the real cost of medical school. Not just the tuition, the real cost. The cost you cannot put on a spreadsheet. Welcome to In Search of 42. Now, everyone talks about the financial cost of medical school, the six-figure debt, the lost income during training years, the opportunity cost. And those costs are real. They're substantial. They're worth discussing. But today, I want to talk about the costs nobody mentions in the admissions brochures: the mental cost, the emotional cost, the physical cost, the relationship cost, the identity cost, the cost of becoming someone you don't recognize. Because here's what I've learned: the money you can pay back. I did, thanks to the public service loan forgiveness and my Air Force service. But the other costs, those are harder to recover from. Some of them you never fully recover from. You just learn to live with what you've lost. Let me start by telling you why I went to medical school, because I think it matters. I was scientifically minded. My jam in college was physical chemistry. I could literally see the world through calculus and equations. It was beautiful, but also scary. The precision of it, the elegance of it, the way everything connected mathematically. That's where I lived. That's what made sense to me. Medicine was just a way for me to do something difficult, to challenge myself, to stay involved with science, to prove I could handle something most people couldn't. But here's the truth: medicine didn't really resonate with me, even in medical school or residency or as an attending. It never clicked the way physical chemistry did. I still think I should have become an airline pilot instead, but I didn't. I chose medicine, and I paid the price for that choice. We all do. The question is, do you know what price you are going to pay? And then are you willing to pay it? Let's start with the cost everyone knows about: money. Medical school is expensive. Depending on where you go, you're looking at $200,000 to $400,000 in debt just for medical school. That doesn't include undergraduate debt. That doesn't include the interest that accrues while you're in residency making $60,000 a year. That doesn't include the cost of applications, interviews, board exams, licensing fees. When I was applying to medical school, I knew I couldn't afford it. My family couldn't help me pay for it, and so I joined the Air Force. They paid for medical school through the Health Professions Scholarship Program, and in exchange, I owed them 3 years on active duty after residency. It seemed like a good deal at the time, and in many ways, it was. But it also meant I didn't have control over where I lived or where I worked for those 3 years. It meant military obligations. It meant deployments were possible. It meant my career path was partially dictated by the needs of the Air Force. That's a hidden cost of free medical school. But even with the Air Force covering tuition, I still had living expenses. I still had undergraduate debt. And after residency, after the Air Force, I still had debt to pay off. I was fortunate to qualify for public service loan forgiveness because my government work counted toward it. But that required 10 years of public service, 10 years of working for government or nonprofit organizations, 10 years of limited career options. That's the financial reality. You will be in debt for a decade or more. You will make financial decisions based on that debt. You might delay buying a house, starting a family, and you will delay saving for retirement. You will watch your friends from college who went into tech or business or finance buy homes and take vacations while you are still living like a student. And that's only if everything goes according to plan. If you drop out of medical school, you still have debt. If you don't match into residency, you still have debt. If you get injured or sick and can't practice, you still have debt. The financial cost is real and it follows you for decades. Now, let's talk about what medical school does to your body. In medical school, my friends and I made it an effort to go to the gym regularly. We knew we needed to stay healthy. We knew the stress was going to take a toll. We tried to maintain some physical fitness. And in medical school, we mostly succeeded. We had some control over our schedules. We could make time for the gym. But then residency hit, and there simply wasn't time. You're working 80 to 100 hours a week. You're exhausted. You're stressed. You're eating whatever is quick and available. You're sleeping whenever you can. Exercise becomes a luxury you simply can't afford. I gained weight during residency, significant weight, and I struggled to get it off to meet the physical demands of the Air Force. That weight gain wasn't just about vanity, it was about what residency does to you physically: the sleep deprivation, the cortisol from chronic stress, the inability to take care of your basic health needs. You become a doctor by destroying your own health. That's the irony. You learn to take care of other people by completely neglecting yourself. And the physical toll adds up. Back problems from standing in the OR for hours, repetitive strain injuries from procedures, weakened immune systems from stress and sleep deprivation, chronic fatigue that never quite goes away. Your body pays the price for your medical training. And unlike the financial debt, you can't just pay this one off and be done with it. The damage is done, and you must manage it. So let's talk about the cost nobody wants to discuss: the mental and emotional toll. Now, I have depression. I've had it for a long time, even though I didn't know it or recognize it. And medical school and residency didn't cause it, but they sure as hell didn't help. The pressure is real. The expectations are crushing. You're supposed to know everything. You're supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to handle anything. And when you can't, when you struggle, when you fail, the shame is overwhelming. I have contemplated suicide on several occasions: during medical school, during residency, throughout my career. I can't tell you exactly what triggered those moments. Best I can tell you, it was a loss of identity, a loss of self, having to do work that simply didn't resonate with me, feeling like I had become someone I didn't recognize, feeling trapped in a path I couldn't get off. I never had someone I could truly confide in, and I went through those struggles alone, by myself, and that sucked. It still sucks. I'm boneheaded and strong minded, and somehow I pushed through, but I can't tell you exactly how, and that's terrifying. Because I want to be able to tell you, here's what to do if you're in that dark place. But I don't have a clear answer. What I do know is this: You cannot do this alone. You need help. You need support. You need someone to reach out to. I am thankful that I now have a good therapist. I'm doing ketamine therapy. I'm on medications that help stabilize my mood. And I wish I had done all of that sooner because suffering in silence almost killed me. Let me give you some statistics. Physicians have one of the highest suicide rates of any profession. Medical students experience depression and anxiety at rates significantly higher than the general population. And approximately 300 to 400 physicians die by suicide every year in the United States. That's roughly one per day. One physician per day kills themselves. Think about that. These are the people who dedicated a decade or more of their lives to helping others, and they couldn't save themselves. Or they didn't feel like they could ask for help, or they asked and the system failed them. This is not rare. This is not unusual. This is epidemic, and we don't talk about it enough. If you are in medical school or residency right now and you're struggling, please hear me out. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not alone. This system breaks people, good people, strong people, brilliant people, and there is no shame in needing help. Let's talk about what medical schools does to your relationships. All of them. I stayed at the University of Miami for medical school because of a girl, and that relationship didn't survive medical school. Neither did most of my other relationships. My undergraduate friends who weren't medically minded simply moved on. They graduated, got jobs, started their lives. And I was still in school, still studying, still broke, still unavailable. We pretty much lost touch with each other, and that pattern continued throughout residency. You don't have time for friendships. You don't have energy for relationships. You don't have bandwidth for anything outside of medicine. Your social circle becomes other medical students, other residents, because they're the only ones who understand. They're the only ones who don't expect you to be available. They're the only ones who accept that you'll cancel plans at the last minute because you're on call. But even those relationships are strained because everyone is struggling. Everyone is exhausted. Everyone is barely surviving. You're not supporting each other. You're just drowning together. And romantic relationships? Forget about it. I've been divorced twice. Medicine played a role both times. When you're in medical school, you're stressed and broke and unavailable. When you're in residency, you're exhausted and irritable and never home. When you're in attending, you're responsible for everything and everyone except the people you actually love. Your partner becomes a medical widow. Your kids grow up with a parent who's always at the hospital. Your family learns to celebrate holidays without you because you're on call. And the worst part? Sometimes you don't even care that you're missing those moments because you're so deep in the medicine mindset that nothing else feels as important. The patient is dying and your kid's soccer game seems trivial. That surgical case is complex and your anniversary seems like it can wait. That shift needs to be covered and your friend's wedding can happen without you. And then one day you wake up and you realize you've lost everyone and you're alone with your medical degree and your career and nothing else. That's the relationship cost. Let me tell you who I was before medical school. I was the president of the chemistry club. I did mock trial. I was in theater productions. I was awarded outstanding service for the Department of Chemistry. I won the American Chemical Society's Best Graduating Senior Award. I was involved. I was multifaceted. I had interests outside of science. But then I went to medical school, and slowly, piece by piece, I lost those parts of myself. I tried to stay involved with things. I became the class webmaster because I've always liked coding. I like making computers work for me instead of with me. And that gave me something outside of medicine, something that was mine. I volunteered. I went on a medical mission trip to Nicaragua. That was epic. Great country. Probably rather dangerous at that time, but hey, I was young and stupid. But even those things, the volunteering, the mission trip, they were all medical. I was still defined by medicine. I lost the non medical parts of myself. And I'm not alone in this. I've seen brilliant, creative, multifaceted people become one dimensional doctors. People who played instruments, who painted, who wrote poetry, who had hobbies and passions, and they gave it all up because medicine demands everything, because there isn't time for anything else, because your identity becomes doctor and nothing else. And here's the scary part. I'm still trying to figure out what resonates with me. I'm in my 40s. I've been out of residency for years, and I still don't know who I am outside of being a doctor. I dabble in coding now. I automate my home with Home Assistant. I extend Google Suite services through Google Script. I run a coaching business. I host this podcast, but I'm still searching, still trying to find the things that clicks the way physical chemistry once did for me. Still trying to reclaim the parts of myself that I lost along the way. That's the identity cost. You become a doctor, but you stop being you. And getting yourself back is hard, sometimes impossible. Let me tell you about a specific moment from my third year of medical school, a moment that exemplifies the precarious nature of medical training. I showed up late to a surgical case. It wasn't even my case. I was covering for one of my classmates who was away on a residency interview. I was late, not hours late, but late enough that it mattered. The rotation coordinator wanted me to repeat my entire third year of medical school for insubordination, for showing up late. I had to meet with the deans. I had to defend myself. I had to sit there and listen to people discuss whether my entire medical career should be delayed by a year, whether I was worthy of continuing, whether one mistake was disqualifying. Thankfully, they decided that repeating third year was simply too harsh a punishment. They let it slide. They told me to show up on time in the future. And I did. But that moment stuck with me. Not because of the lateness, but because of how precarious everything is. One mistake, one bad evaluation, one rotation coordinator who doesn't like you, and your entire career can be derailed. You're always one step away from failing, one step away from not matching, one step away from losing everything you've worked for. That constant fear, that constant pressure, that constant walking on eggshells, that's part of the cost. You develop anxiety. You develop perfectionism. You develop an inability to ever feel safe or secure because you're not safe. You're not secure. You're always being evaluated, always being judged, always one mistake away from disaster. Now, I want to say something about the culture at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine because it matters. The culture was very supportive. The faculty cared about the students. There were resources for mental health. There was an emphasis on wellness, at least in theory, and that helped. It didn't fix everything. It didn't prevent my struggles, but it helped. Because I've talked to people who trained at other schools where the culture was toxic, where asking for help was seen as weakness, where mental health resources were non existent or stigmatized, where students were actively hazed and abused. And those people are worse off than I am. So if you're choosing a medical school, pay attention to the culture. Ask about mental health resources. Ask about student support. Ask about what happens when someone is struggling. Because the culture of your medical school will affect your experience more than you realize. A supportive culture won't prevent all of the costs that I am talking about in this episode, but it might prevent the worst outcomes. It might be the difference between struggling and surviving versus not surviving at all. Looking back, here's what I wish I had done differently. I wish I had started therapy earlier. I wish I had gotten a medication earlier. I wish I had been honest with someone, anyone, about how much I was struggling. I wish I had set better boundaries. I wish I had protected the parts of myself that weren't about medicine. I wish I had been less boneheaded about pushing through and more willing to ask for help. I wish I had questioned whether medicine was right for me before I was too far in to turn back. But I didn't do any of those things. I suffered in silence. I pushed through. I survived. But surviving isn't the same as thriving. And I want better for you than just survival. Here's the hard truth. Some costs you can recover from. The financial debt can be paid off. The weight can be lost. The physical fitness can be regained. But some costs are permanent. The relationships you lost. The time you missed with family. The experiences you didn't have because you were studying or working. The parts of your identity you surrendered. Those don't come back. Now, you can build new relationships, you can create new experiences, you can rediscover parts of yourself, but you can't get back what you lost. You can't undo the years of struggle. You can't reclaim the person you were before medicine changed you. And that's something you need to accept before you start this journey. Because if you go into medical school thinking, I'll just get through this and then everything will be fine, you're wrong. Getting through it changes you permanently. The question is whether that change is worth it. So, after all this, is medical school worth it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. For some people, yes. For people who find meaning in medicine, for people who are energized by patient care, for people whose identity aligns with being a doctor, for those people, the costs might just be worth it. But for people like me, people for whom medicine never truly resonated, people who are still searching for what actually fulfills them, I'm not sure it was worth it. I have skills, I have knowledge, I have a career, but I also have scars. Mental scars, emotional scars, relationship scars, identity scars. And I'm still trying to figure out if the trade off was worth it. What I can tell you is this. If you're considering medical school, be honest with yourself about why. If it's just because it's hard and you want to prove you can do it, that's not enough. If it's just because you're good at science and don't know what else to do, that's not enough. If it's because your parents expect it, that's definitely not enough. You need a better reason than that. Because the costs are too high to pay for the wrong reasons. If you're in medical school or residency right now and you're struggling, please listen to me. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to need help. It's okay to consider leaving if this isn't right for you. You are not trapped. You are never trapped. Even if you have debt, even if you're partway through, even if everyone expects you to finish, your life is more important than your medical degree. Your mental health is more important than your career. Your survival is more important than proving anything to anyone. Please reach out for help. Talk to a therapist. Talk to a psychiatrist. Consider medication. Join a support group. Find someone, anyone, who you can be honest with. Here are some resources for you. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available at 988. You can call or text the crisis text line 24/7 if you are in crisis at 741-741. Also, the physician support line is available 24/7 at 888-409-0141. This is specifically for physicians and medical students. It's confidential. It's staffed by psychiatrists who understand the unique pressures of medical training. Maybe your medical school has counseling services. Most medical schools have mental health resources. Use them. They're confidential. You won't get kicked out for seeking help. And if you're worried about stigma, about it affecting your career, I get it. But I'd rather you be alive and worried about stigma than dead. Please get help. Please reach out. Please know that you are not alone. Let me tell you where I am at right now. I have a therapist I see regularly. I'm doing ketamine therapy, which has been helpful for my depression. I'm on medications that stabilize my mood. I'm running a coaching business where I help others navigate their careers and lives. I'm hosting this podcast to share what I have learned. I'm still coding and automating things because it brings me joy. But I'm still searching for what truly resonates with me. I'm surviving. More than surviving, actually. I'm building a life that works for me, a life that isn't defined solely by medicine. And I'm doing it because I finally got help, because I finally admitted I couldn't do it alone, because I finally prioritized my mental health over everything else. That's what I want for you. Not just survival, but a life that works for you, whatever that looks like. So the real cost of medical school is higher than you think. It's not just money. It's your physical health, your mental health, your relationships, your identity. Parts of yourself that you might never get back. But it doesn't have to cost everything. If you go in with your eyes open, if you protect what matters, if you ask for help when you need it, if you're willing to walk away if it's not right for you, you can minimize the cost. You cannot eliminate it, but you can manage it. And if you're already in the middle of it, struggling, drowning, please know you are not alone. I've been there. I'm still figuring it out, and you can make it through this, but not by suffering in silence, not by pushing through alone. You need help, and that's okay. This is In Search of 42. I'm Dr. Felix Becker, and I want you to survive this. Not just survive, actually. Thrive. Take care of yourselves. Seriously. If this episode resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe. But more importantly, if you're struggling, reach out for help. Use the resources I mentioned. Talk to someone. Don't do this alone. Leave a comment about your experience with the cost of medical school and a career in medicine. What surprised you? What cost weren't you prepared for? What helped you get through it? And let me know what other topics you want me to cover. And I will see you in the next episode.